So last week we talked a little bit about some of the psychological effects of living as if the world is going to end tomorrow. If Armageddon and Christ's judgment is at hand, then you're probably going to live your life and treat other people differently than you otherwise would. As Christians, we should be ready for Christ's return and expectant that it will happen. But I don't know that we should be obsessed about it in thought and action all the time. And that's why the scripture that Peyton just read was, "Be patient, my beloved, and wait upon the coming of the Lord." And why Jesus himself said that no one knows the hour or the day, not even the angels in heaven, of the day of my return. In order to protect believers from falling into the trap of being obsessed with the end of the world and trying to unlock the code of when the end of the world is coming. An impulse and a compulsion that we saw last week, the enemy can use to manipulate and to corrupt religion. You can't live 3 minutes to midnight. Kimball's third religious warning sign operates psychologically in much the same way. Rather than snaring religious groups into religious extremism because they think that the world is going to end tomorrow, this snare sees a religious group longing to get back to the good old days of their faith, the golden era of our religion. So for Christians, that might be, if we could just get back to the apostolic age, then the church would be exactly as she should be. But when a group of people or religion longs for the good old days, they are oftentimes longing through rose-colored glasses. And whenever a group tries to force the world to go back to a time when they think was ideal, that is again when the enemy is ready to manipulate and corrupt religion. Here's a picture of the Dome of the Rock on the Temple Mount in the old city of Jerusalem. It would not be hyperbolic to say that this is one of, if not the most sacred spaces on the planet. Let me give you a little history. This Muslim mosque was built on the Temple Mount, right over the area where the Solomon's Temple was built, and later the Jewish Second Temple was built. The Second Temple was destroyed in 70 AD by the Roman Empire. And this Islamic mosque was built right on the site of the holiest of holies of the Jewish temple, right where the Jews believed that God himself resided, and where the Jews will still pray towards to this day. It is believed that this is the site where Abraham was about ready to sacrifice his son Isaac. It's important to the Muslims, not just because of all of that history, but because the Dome of the Rock is the oldest architectural Islamic building. It is the spot where they believe the beginning of the world happened, as well as the very spot where the Prophet Muhammad went on his midnight journey up to heaven. It is a place on earth that is saturated with religious and historical significance for the three Abrahamic faiths. Well, as you can imagine, with so much sacredness from three different world religions crammed into the old city, it's a powder keg, right? Plenty of opportunity for religious extremism on all sides. Kimball writes in his book that at the time of his writing, there was 13 attempts to destroy the Temple Mount by Jewish extremists in order to purify the area again, to go back to the way things were before. But keep in mind that that was written 20 years ago, and so a quick Google search will point out that there has been violence on the Temple Mount as recent as April of 2023. Oh, and not to mention the current war in Gaza that's going on as a result of the initial Palestinian aggression back towards Israel. This is not just history or land that is fueling the tension in this area. It is religious promises and ideologies of a hope to return back to the good old days.